Do you know that feeling of waking up knowing something important is about to happen for your team? That's exactly how we feel right now. This isn't just another preseason update. This is one of those pivotal moments that can define the next few years. There are real questions that need answers, important decisions that will shape the locker room, and real pressure mounting after last season's end. The line between competing and dominating is thin, and what happens next could determine whether this team takes the final step or sees another team stay on top. But before I tell you all the details, click the like button so you don't miss any information. Let's go! The San Francisco 49ers are entering one of the most crucial weeks of the entire offseason, and what's about to happen in Indianapolis could quietly shape the franchise's future in 2026. We're here at the NFL Combine, and while most fans are focused on 40-yard dash times and bench press reps, what really matters is happening behind closed doors, and tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. local time, when General Manager John Lynch speaks publicly for the first time on behalf of the team since the painful divisional round loss to the Seattle Seahawks. A lot has changed since that loss. This is Lynch's first media appearance since the end-of-season press conference following the playoff loss to Seattle. And the timing couldn't be more significant. Free agency begins on March 9th, the NFL Draft follows, and the 49ers are entering this offseason with real financial flexibility, with approximately $50 million in salary cap space. This is a completely different situation from last year's rebuilding. And that rebuilding was real. As George Kittle described it, 2025 was a rebuilding year. The organization let several players leave in free agency, prioritized rejuvenating the roster, absorbed dead money from contracts, and focused heavily on selecting defensive players in the draft. In fact, their first 5 picks in the 2025 NFL Draft were all defensive players. This was a deliberate shift after losing key defensive pieces, including Charvarius Ward, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Javon Hargrave, Leonard Floyd, and Malik Collins. Now the question is, will this philosophy change? Because this team just won 12 games and a playoff game. They are no longer rebuilding. They are chasing the title. But who is chasing the title? The Seattle Seahawks, the reigning Super Bowl champions, a team that dominated the 49ers at crucial moments, including a divisional round matchup where San Francisco struggled offensively. The biggest problem? The offense. In 2025, the 49ers offense was the oldest in the NFL. Against elite defenses like those of Seattle and Houston, they failed to protect the defensive line and couldn't create space at skill positions. In 2 games against Seattle, they failed to score a touchdown and only reached the red zone once. That's not a small sample. It's a warning sign. And history reinforces this. The last 2 Super Bowl champions, Seattle in 2025 and Philadelphia in 2024, had the best defense in the league. In an era obsessed with offense, elite defenses still win championships. And now, the 49ers are facing a Seahawks defense that is tall, athletic, fast, physical, and relentless. So, how can San Francisco close that gap? It all starts in the trenches. The offensive line was outplayed against Seattle. There are questions specifically about the center and left guard. Philosophically, will this organization finally change how it builds its offensive line? Will they aggressively seek reinforcements? That's a crucial question. But the transformation can't stop there. The offense needs speed. It needs explosiveness. It needs vertical threats that can break through the defense. This is no longer optional. It's necessary if they want to compete with Seattle twice a year and face the Rams. On defense, even after investing heavily in that position in last year's draft, more questions remain. With Robert Saleh leaving to become the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, Raheem Morris takes over as defensive coordinator. Morris and Kyle Shanahan have a long history together. This will be the fourth team they've coached together. That relationship is important. Morris is known for his flexibility, adjusting his scheme to suit the roster, as he did when he took over the Rams' defense in 2021 and adapted to a Vic Fangio-style structure. That flexibility could be crucial, but will the 49ers make another aggressive defensive signing? Could they explore trades for pass rushers? Add another defensive lineman to play alongside Nick Bosa? Improve the safety position with more reach in center field? These aren't luxury upgrades. They're calculated moves to match Seattle's defensive dominance. And then there's the elephant in the room. Brandon Ayuk. The organization hasn't heard from him in months. Will he stay? Will he be traded? Released? If traded, what will the compensation be? Trades can happen during or after the combine. They can only be made official at the start of the new league year. Remember, Deebo Samuel was traded to the Washington Commanders during Combine Week last year. Those conversations are happening now. Health is another crucial point. Will Ricky Pearsall, confidant of the 49ers, be able to hold on? It was recognized that this could affect the perception of the free agent market. And what about the recovery timelines for Nick Bosa, Mike Williams, and George Kittle by 2026? Their availability could drastically influence the urgency of signings next season. Another factor to consider: leadership. There are rumors about a possible restructuring of the front office, perhaps with the promotion of John Lynch to the position of Vice President of Football Operations. Is this realistic? The timing would be complex, especially during Combine Week, when Lynch leads meetings and oversees evaluations. But the simple fact that this is being discussed demonstrates the importance of the situation. This is not a quiet off-season. This is a decisive off-season. The 49ers are close, but close in the NFC West means second place, behind the reigning Super Bowl champions. The decisions made in the next 6 weeks will determine whether the team regains control or sees Seattle extend its lead. So, tell me, if you were in John Lynch's shoes right now, what would be your first action? Would you prioritize the offensive line? Speed on the receivers? An impactful signing for the defense? Or would you rely on developing the internal team? Leave your opinion in the comments. I want to know exactly how you would approach this offseason if you were in charge of the San Francisco 49ers. And this is where things get even more interesting, because it's not just about tactical schemes, free agents, or draft picks. It's about identity. For years, under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, the San Francisco 49ers had a very clear formula. Dominate the defensive line, control the line of scrimmage on offense, run the ball, use feint passing plays, and suffocate opponents with physicality. This plan produced consistent playoff appearances. It provided deep postseason runs. It generated respect throughout the league. But it didn't produce another Lombardi Trophy. And when you analyze what happened in that divisional round loss to the Seattle Seahawks, something unsettling was exposed. Against a defense that could press with 4 players, play with disciplined coverage, and match speed with speed, the 49ers' offense seemed locked, predictable, physically outmatched on the defensive line, unable to break through on the wings. This isn't just a matter of talent. It's a philosophical challenge. Are the 49ers willing to evolve? Because, if they aren't, the gap in the NFC West could widen rapidly. Seattle's defense isn't going anywhere. The Rams remain aggressive. And when you analyze the division's front office, you see the pressure. John Schneider in Seattle has built championship-caliber rosters. Les Snead in Los Angeles has been bold and calculating. Some even say, rightly or wrongly, that John Lynch could be the third-best general manager in his own division. That's the scenario. So when Lynch takes the podium in Indianapolis, every answer matters. Every change in tone matters. Because this fan base deserves clarity. This roster deserves urgency. Let's talk about aggressiveness. Will the 49ers bet big on defense? Adding another elite pass rusher to play alongside Nick Bosa would completely change how offenses attack this team. A true safety with range could unlock more cover and turnover potential in the secondary. Combine that with Fred Warner anchoring the middle of the defense, and suddenly you're talking about a defense capable of carrying the weight of a championship again. But if you invest heavily in the defense again, does that leave the offense in the same vulnerable position? And that brings us back to Brandon Ayuk. The uncertainty there is significant. If he's traded or released, it creates salary cap flexibility. But it also removes a proven game changer. If he stays, what version of him will you have? What's the team's mentality? How's his health? What's his level of engagement with the organization? These are variables that can change the franchise. And then there's Ricky Pearsall. The talent shines when he's on the field, but availability matters. If injury continues to be a problem, can you afford to rely on him as a key player in a division full of physical defenders? And the health issues extend beyond offensive players. What are the recovery timelines for Nick Bosa, Mike Williams, and George Kittle through 2026? These three factors alone can tip the balance in a game. If any of them are physically limited during the season, the margin for error immediately decreases. Now, let's address something fans have been discussing more and more quietly. The history of injuries that stretches for years. Concerns about recovery protocols, physical conditioning approaches, even speculation about the facility environment and whether it impacts long-term health. Players have voiced their concerns. This matters. Perception in free agency matters. If there's the slightest doubt in a player's mind about their stamina or infrastructure, it can influence their decisions. In today's NFL, the margin for error is minimal. Sometimes it's not about talent, but about confidence. And this off-season is about confidence. Do the 49ers trust their current roster-building philosophy? Do they trust internal development? Do they trust their healthcare infrastructure? Do they believe that small adjustments can address a gap that seemed very real in January? Or will they make bold moves, seeking headlines? Because remember, negotiations often begin to be articulated right here, during Combine Week. Conversations start in hotel lobbies. Text messages are exchanged between agents and executives. Structures are established even before the start of the new league season. That's how the Deebo Samuel negotiation unfolded during Combine Week last year. The next few days could quietly determine the course of 2026. And we can't ignore the internal dynamic between Kyle Shanahan and Raheem Morris. Their history together is long. The communication between them is strong. Morris's adaptability could inject new flexibility into the defensive approach. But there's still no sign of whether the organization sees this offseason as a period of adjustment or transformation. Now, I want to know your full opinion. Do you believe the 49ers are one or two signings away from overtaking the Seattle Seahawks? Or do you think the roster needs a more aggressive offensive overhaul? Should they invest even more in defense or in younger, faster offensive players? Leave your detailed opinion in the comments, click the like button, and let's discuss. If you enjoyed this in-depth analysis and want complete coverage of the 49ers throughout the offseason, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any updates. This will be a decisive period for San Francisco, and we'll follow every step together.